Why do we need to edit our drone photographs and videos? Well, stick around, I'll tell you why. If you remember in previous videos, I've talked a lot about video editing and why you need to offer that as a service. But why is that important? Why can't you just submit the raw footage to your client? Well, you can, but then so can everybody else. And you need something to be able to differentiate yourself from everyone else. What if you don't want to learn to edit? What if you think it's tedious and boring and sit in front of the computer all day and it's something you just don't want to do? Well, that's okay. But then you've got two options. What can you do? Well, first, you could hire a full-time editor, but that's probably impractical for a new business. Or you could subcontract it out. And there's some good ways of doing that too. How would you go about finding somebody? There's a good site online called Fiverr, which I'll talk about a little bit. And this is a repository of people around the world that have certain expertise and offer that for sale. When you go through there, you can find people that are willing to set up your website, do your SEO, do your editing, do voiceovers, graphic designs, logo designs, pretty much anything you want. And the cost is not terribly high either. Plus the fact, once you find somebody you like on there and work with them a couple times, they could develop into being your part-time staff. So I think that's a good option for you. Now here's Fiverr. This is what I was talking about. Look at all the things you can do here. Graphics and design, digital marketing, writing and translation, and on and on and on. And if you just look at some of the samples down here, here's a person that will do SEO. Here's one electronic music producer, video editing, WordPress website. So anything you can think about, more than likely there's a person on here that can help you with that. And if you're like I am and partially masochistic, you like to do this kind of stuff yourself. And it's taken me a long time to get to a position where I can do some pretty good editing. So how do you start? Well, back years ago, I started with something in Windows, and I think it was called Movie Maker at the time. Very basic, but it gave me some of the general ideas of how to edit videos, how to set up your timeline, how to cut and paste and move around and so on. And that was a pretty good start. But later on, when I figured I wanted to do something a little more professional, I moved up to a product called Cyberlink PowerDirector. Now there's lots of packages out there. Everybody's got their preferences, but I'm going to talk about three here today. So PowerDirector was my first one. Currently, they charge about $8 a month on a subscription basis for this package. Back when I did it, you could actually buy the software itself, install it in your computer, and have that to use in the future. And I'll talk about that as being a problem here in a minute. The PowerDirector is very intuitive. Lots of built-in templates, very easy to get creative and put out some really good stuff on there. Here's a clip from an early promo I did for one of my other companies. Now, after using PowerDirector for about 4 years, there came a point in time where I'd learned it so well, I wanted to start getting more creative. And I was limited in what PowerDirector would let me do. So I thought, okay, now's the time to bite the bullet and go for Adobe. Adobe is recognized as one of the premier editing suites in the world. So I opted to get Adobe Creative Cloud, which gave me Premiere Pro, After Effects, Acrobat Reader, Photoshop, Lightroom, Illustrator, and a whole bunch of other packages that were very beneficial. And the price I paid was a special deal of $30 a month. That's a lot of money, but I felt like I got a lot for that. So I kept that for about 4 years. But every single year at renewal time, they automatically bumped me up from $30 a month to $53 a month, because that was their standard package. And every year, I'd have to call them back, complain, threaten to leave, and they dropped the price back down to $29.99. So I kept that up. Well, the last year I had it, I made my call as normal, said I'm not going to pay $53 a month. And I got a person that just didn't understand what was going on. Couldn't find my account. When they did, they said I was 2 months behind. So I finally said, I need to talk to a supervisor. Well, no supervisor's available. We'll have one call you back in 24 hours. Okay. The last question he asked me was, do you want me to cancel your subscription or leave it open until you talk to the supervisor? And I said, leave it open. So after we hung up, went back into the program, and guess what? He had canceled it. And that gave me the realization that I was a captive audience for Adobe. Because once that program was gone, I could no longer open up any of my files that I developed and put out these videos on. And I was just getting ready to start this vlog series that I started last December. I thought, that's horrible. I can't do that. So at that point, I decided to change. But before I do that, here's a short clip where I used Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects. And this is a promo I did for Third Rock a few years ago. So after getting frustrated with Adobe, I moved to DaVinci Resolve. You may have heard of that. It started off as a good color correction program, has evolved into a good editing program, and that's what I'm using currently. But why am I doing that? Just because I talked about earlier, I did not want to be a captive audience. And with DaVinci, I can download a copy of their program, put it on my hard drive, and always have access to it. Furthermore, their basic package is free. And when I say basic package, there is an awful lot you can do with DaVinci Resolve Basic. So I worked with that for a few months. Another steep learning curve. Even though the workflow is the same, all the tools were different than in Adobe. And I had to rebuild a lot of stuff. But I finally realized, it's worth the effort because I own that package. And I went and upgraded to DaVinci Studio, which was $295. Another big hit, but that's a one-time charge. It allows me to download that package, install it in my computer, and then get free updates from there on out. So that's not a big price to pay. Do I feel like I've given up anything? I believe Adobe's a better package, but the things I gave up, I don't miss, knowing that I've got complete control now of my photos and my videos, and I can access them anytime I want. So let's look at these clips again. Did you see any difference? Well, let me talk about them individually. If we look at this first one, you'll see this fog in the background. Well, that's from an overlay that I got online. And the picture of the classroom you see in there was actually a video I took of a class I taught in Japan a couple of years ago. So that's my stuff. Added the text in using PowerDirector. But now then, when I get to these pictures of Miami and London and Dubai and Sydney, I've been to all those places, but those are not my videos. And I went to a stock site to get those videos, input them, use keyframing to get them to spin into place like that, added more text, and then closed it out with my website. This second one used a lot of Adobe After Effects here to get this morphing of the background, which I think is a pretty cool effect. But the picture itself is stock footage. I used After Effects to put this script in the sky and produce it with Premiere Pro. Then finally, with DaVinci Resolve, here's some shots in Cedar Key taken with a drone, and all this video footage is mine. Use DaVinci Resolve to do all this. Not a lot of special effects on this one, but I did use all the color grading and color corrections to make this one pop and look good. I particularly like the section late afternoon over the Swanee River. If you notice, each one of those also had a soundtrack, and I use various free sites and paid sites to get music. One of the ones I use is something called Epidemic Sound. Let me talk about that a bit. Here's a sample of their website here. Every genre you could think about, now trending options, online creators, what they're using, ads, comedy, gaming, weddings, travel, sports, and they give you all these samples down here that you can play through. Of course, there is a monthly subscription charge on it, but they have a tremendous catalog of available music. And the stock footage you saw came from various places on the web. One that you can use is something called Storyblocks. And here's a brief description of it. Storyblocks. Okay, these are stock photos and videos. Here again, most any topic you can think about, they've got things for you there. Aerial. If you want drone footage, you can come up with that. Many, many shorts there to help you put together your videos. And here's the timeline from last week's vlog. And you can see how I've got a bunch of individual clips in here. I've cut out various dead spots or bad sections or whatever, and put transitions in between them to make them flow right. Then below that is my audio, my vocal on it. Below that is the music that I put into it. And these little tan boxes above here are the various scripts I put in there. If we look over here, this is where I've got the emails are sent to pilots in your area set up. And on there. And if we look at the end, there's my subscribe and watch more buttons and the aerial that's behind it. So that's just an example of how these go together. Well, I hope this helped. Hope you're still enjoying these videos. If you are, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And if you feel like sharing it with your friends, please do so. That would be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you so much for watching.